Okay, we are live. Welcome to our weekly Wednesday live training inside Fix and Flip Foundation. If you're here, as I often do, in the Facebook watching this live now, you're in real time if it's 1 p.m. on Wednesday. So jump into the Zoom. The link ought to be there. And then you can jump in live with us in the Zoom, help direct the dialogue, engage with us there. It's tough for us to see the questions over on Facebook. There's a little bit of a lag. And so sometimes they find their way into our Zoom discussion a little bit late. So I say all that to say, if you're watching this live on Facebook, come watch it live in the Zoom. Like I said, the link is there and the team will help bridge you over. And then we're going to jump right in, give it just a minute. We're a little bit early. And as I often do, my intention is to stay on time, have you guys out of here in 40 minutes. Maybe some of you are eating your lunch while you're watching this. Maybe some of you put off lunch until after you watch this. And so my intention is to make sure I respect your time, bring you a ton of value, and get you guys out of here in 40 minutes. So just give it another minute as folks trickle in. If you are here, let me know you're here. Let me know you can hear and see me in the chat. I'm going to do a screen share at some point, but for now, I just want to make sure that my video and audio is coming in, which I would need to make the chat open and accessible for that. So it should now be, and I'll wait to see if that's the case. And in the meantime, I'm going to prepare my share for you guys. We are ready to rock and roll. Okay, let's hit it. A lot of folks checking in. Will, Paul, John, Rocca, I see you guys. Roland from Texas, what's up, buddy? Darren, what's up, man? It's good to see you. Ed, good to see you again. A lot of familiar faces in the chat. I'm glad to see you guys are coming back. That suggests to me that you're getting value here, and that's what the whole idea is. So welcome back for those that are back. And if you're new, engage, man. We're trying to have you guys drive the dialogue here. And so it's not me as a talking head, right, just coming at you. I, of course, want to bring you value. I want to walk through some of the stuff I have to share with you, but a lot of the value comes in the Q&A, and that's why we create a time in between and often at the end for that, right? So be sure to throw your hand up. You don't have to actually do that in Zoom. You could just drop questions in the chat, and then we'll jump over and answer them. So again, today we're going to talk about private money lending. We've done talks on this. We've done trainings on this in the past. It continues to come up. The consensus from a lot of newer investors is that even if they lock up the deal, they are uncertain, unsure that they'll be able to secure the funding, the financing to take the deal down, right? And I'm here to tell you that the deal's the hard part. The dollars will find the deal. And I'm sure you've heard that many times, and there's probably a dozen people in your feed saying that, right? But it is actually true. I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to show you how we work the process, this process that I'm encouraging you to R&D, rip off and duplicate in your business right now. And if you do this, you will for sure have the funds that you need to execute on the deal when you lock the deal up. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm going to work from something that some of you have seen in the past. Others, this may be the first time you're seeing it, but bear with me as I jump into a screen share. And so you ought to be seeing, I'm moving the chat as well so I can stay engaged. And so what you're probably seeing is Kajabi, and you're seeing the back end, or the front end, I should say, of our course, our private money course. So some of you have this course, some of you have been through this course. Evan, thank you, man. It's good to know that this, before I go on for 30 minutes, not realizing that you guys can't see my screen share. So thank you for that. So if this is the first time you're seeing this, I'll quickly tell you what it is. This was a private money management course that we created as a result of a lot of the inbound questions and inquiries that we were getting, a lot of the same redundant questions, a lot of the same challenges and concerns. And so we wove together like a 15-ish or 16 lesson module course. And inside of it, we talk about acquiring private money lenders, how to present the opportunity to the private money lenders in a way that's engaging and in a way that gets them interested, ultimately gets them to lend to you. And then how do you communicate? How do you manage communication with a private money lender? Because setting expectations and communicating clearly and consistently are the most important things with maintaining private money lender relationships. So we're going to unpack all of those things or as deep as we get with the time that we have, with the limited time that we have. And the reason I'm showing you the course is because of the framework. I want you to understand the structure and the framework before we jump into the PDF that's going to drive our talk today. So let's jump in. So the document that's going to drive our dialogue is actually one of the resources that's built into the course. And so we've also given this out in the group, and we'll give this out at the end of this call as well. So don't worry if you're struggling to keep up, or if you want to take screenshots, you won't have to. We'll get you this PDF. The course is inclusive of this and much, much more. But for the purposes of our talk today, we're going to drive from this document, which I've already got up. And that's what you should be looking at here. And I want to also have this document drive our dialogue. So bear with me as I set the screen up now that I've shown you this document. And let me just know if the screen resets. So what you ought to be looking at now is an outline, essentially the narrative that we're gonna speak to, and it's basically what the course was built upon. And so inside of that are these different elements and components that I want to unpack with you guys. So first and foremost, we talk about acquiring lenders. We talk about going out and finding private money lenders. I term that lender acquisition, just like you would acquire deals, you would acquire leads. It's the same concept, right? So you have to always be thinking, how am I going to get in front of lenders? How am I going to be telling folks what I'm about? And there's two approaches to doing it. It's either inbound or outbound, like two different strategies, right? You can put something out there that generates inbound lender leads, or you can go and aggressively work outbound lender leads, right? That could mean, let me give you practical examples on how you might execute on this, right? So inbound might be something where you cast a wide net, a one-to-many approach, where you put a post out, keep it simple, right? A post that tells folks what you're up to. If you're actively doing deals now, or if you're in the process of writing offers on deals, or if you're modeling deals, you put out a post. Maybe it's a screenshot of a deal you're currently modeling. Maybe it's this example down here, right? Maybe it's something you've crafted in Canva, right? And it's a story that's meant to get folks to engage with across social media. And then at the end of the story, or at the end of the post, or at the end of the email, there's an inbound, a call to action that's going to generate you inbound lender leads, right? And that might be, if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing in our fix and flip business, shoot me a DM, or DM me the word invest, right? Something like that. Or maybe it's the email, and then there's just a button like reply here, and you get folks emailing you back. In fact, that's how we recently raised for a project that we have going. It was off an email, and I'll share the subject line. Some of you are on our email list and will have seen this email, right? Help me turn the poop emoji into the dollar emoji. That's it. That's the subject line. Help me turn poop into dollars. And then inside of the email was a narrative, right, about the project that we're looking to raise for. And then as a result of that, inbound 10 inbound lender leads, right? 10 folks who liked the subject line, opened the email, were interested in the opportunity, and ultimately reached out, right? So that's how you generate inbound lender leads. And then the very, very simple and straightforward practical execution of outbound is you call. Like, you literally work your sphere and you make outbound phone calls. You send outbound emails to specific people that are part of your network, or you've worked alongside in a past job, or friends and family, cousins, anybody that you've got that's part of your sphere that's going to be interested in backing you. You go outbound, right? And so that's going to be more personalized and more one-to-one. So you can expect that that's going to take more time. That's not the cast a wide net approach. It's not the one-to-many approach like social media would be, or like a mass blast on email would be. This would be more targeted. So that would be the distinction between inbound and outbound. Now, what I'll say about that is that you need to always and ever be doing it. It can't just be a one and done type thing. You can't just count on, I'm going to do this like once a month, or I'm going to do this when I have a deal in the pipeline, right? That doesn't work. You have to be consistent about doing this. And that's why here you've heard us talk about our KPIs, our scorecard. Well, you as the leader, founder, business owner, your number one responsibility are deals in dollars, right? That's what you're responsible for doing. Finding deals, filling the pipeline, and raising dollars to do the deals. So we're talking about like private money here. So focus on the raising dollars to do the deals part, and be mindful that for every 3 people that make a verbal commitment to lend to you, 2 are going to fade, right? 2 will ultimately come up with some reason why they couldn't. They didn't ask their partner, or they wound up deploying the money elsewhere, right? So whatever it is, expect that only a third of the verbal commitments you get will actually pan out, which suggests that however much you need to be 3 times oversubscribed. If you're looking to raise $1 million to do a big project, you better get a commitment of up to 3 million from friends, family, colleagues, whatever the case is, because the reality is that 2 out of 3 people are going to fade, right? So that's just a stat to be mindful of when we're talking about relentlessly raising. Always and ever be doing that. Be managing to your scorecard. Your KPI is, I'm going to have 2 relevant lender lead calls or conversations a week, right? Stay consistent with that. Every Monday, look at the scorecard and say, did I do that last week? Do I have 2 relevant, new relevant lender lead calls that I made last week? Did I get on the phone, or did I get on text with 2 potential lenders? And that's a great way to ensure that when the time comes, you're ready, right? Because you have to be ready. You're not going to have time to get ready. And ultimately, here's the 3 questions you want to be asking to get some clarity so you're not blindsided later. As you're getting on the phone with folks, it's how much are you looking to lend? How soon would you like to deploy? And then is there someone else that ought to be on the phone with us? Do you need to discuss this opportunity with your partner? Getting clarity on those 3 things will make sure that these conversations are fruitful. A lot of times, folks will get on the phone with a potential lender and talk in circles and never actually ask for the money, right? Never actually ask for the commitment. It's, hey, here's what I'm up to. Here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what I'm modeling. Here's the opportunity that like I see potential in. And you talk about everything else, but you never actually go for the ask. You never actually make the ask. And so these 3 questions are meant to ensure that you do ask, right? That you do actually ask those targeted questions that at the time might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but are necessary to make those conversations fruitful. And so before we jump into mapping to the opportunity, I want to just quickly pause as I kind of scroll over. Any questions, drop them in the chat. Again, I can see the chat. Whether or not it's in real time, I don't know. And if there's questions over on Facebook, push those through. Anyone on the team that's actively monitoring Facebook, push those through here so I can see them as well, please. Gene, can we share the slides? Yeah, we're going to speak from one slide, essentially. It's not a slide so much as it is the private money management system. And so we're going to make this PDF available to you guys. And if you jumped on late, I was behind the scenes showing you what it looked like in the back end of the Kajabi course where all of this lives. So the private money management system, this one PDF is just the blueprint. And then we're talking about individual parts and pieces at a high level, right? We've only got 30 to 40 minutes here. So we're not gonna be able to dive super deep. That's what the course is for. That's what the accelerator is for. That's what our programs are all about. So for today, I want to give you guys this blueprint, right? I want you to have this so you can deploy this in your business. And of course, when the time comes, you're going to need support to do that, right? And that's when we're here. So feel free to tap us. But Gene, to answer your question, this PDF is going to be made available to you guys. Maria, jump over from Facebook to the Zoom, and then we'll see you here. Or it looks like Evan might be pushing your comments over here, which is great because Evan's the man and he's on top of it. So let's keep going. So again, think of it, acquiring private money lenders, presenting them the opportunity, right? We don't need their money. We're making them an offer. It's an opportunity for them to invest, to earn passive income, right? And then finally, it's communicating with them. We're going to spend a lot of time on communication because it's so critically important. But first, opportunity. Let's talk about the distinction. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I want you guys to understand that your language is everything. And so when you talk about presenting this opportunity, you're making your potential private money lenders an offer to generate returns with you, generate returns in excess of what they're getting in the market, in excess of what they're getting in their savings accounts, right? Those of you that follow me on social media will have seen that I recently dropped something. We had gotten a call from our Chase Private Banker, private client banker, with this new account that they were raving about, paying 4.2% on a 100K minimum, with limited access, like liquidity and to your funds, access to your funds, but limited liquidity. The idea was that the funds needed to be there, the 100K account minimum needed to be maintained, and so 4.2%. And we're actively offering north of 8%. From 50 to 100K, we'll pay 8. From 100 to 250K, we'll pay 10. 250K plus, we'll pay 12. Right? That's our stack. That's how we tier our returns to our private money lenders, encouraging you to create a stack like that. Whether those numbers work for you or not, I don't know, but it's a good idea to always have that, right? When lenders say, what do you pay? Say, this is what I pay, right? On these amounts, on these tiers. And so it's important that the lender feels like this is an opportunity for them. They're being offered this unique opportunity to invest, not that you're desperate and that you need their money to do deals, right? In that moment, then they have all the power, right? And then if they're savvy, they're going to make it hurt, right? Their private money loan is going to start to look a lot like a hard money loan. So make it so that this is an opportunity and that you present it as such. And here's how you do it. Again, we're definitely not going to be able to dive deep on this stuff, but the highlighted sections are specifically these two portions. This is where we go super deep in the course and on our calls with our accelerator guys and girls, because this is what differentiates us and them from other investors, right? When we get on Zoom or a screen share or a phone call or meet an investor, meet a private money lender for coffee, we're presenting this opportunity unlike most investors do. We're running the reports. We're building out the reports in Flipper Force. Like, as you can see here, right? They're visually really appealing. We're putting the deck together, talking about what we intend to do, why we're justified in doing so. Where did we come up with this strategy? Why is that specific market ripe for the picking with this strategy? Making that presentation really compelling, right? Creating a narrative, casting a vision that this lender can get behind. And that's a huge differentiator, something I can't overemphasize for those that are struggling to raise private money. If you're not doing it this way, if you're not spending as much time creating the narrative and casting the vision for your lenders as you are modeling the deal, that's the reason you're likely struggling to raise, right? Like, as much time as you'll spend on the front end doing the deal model, you ought to be spending preparing your presentation, getting your deck ready, getting your thoughts in order, getting your talking points put together. Let me quickly, before I jump into the last section, these are documents, and so it won't take long to talk about those. I want to make sure I'm fielding the questions. Can we post the link here or email it? Yeah, well, Evan's probably going to get it over to you in real time if he hasn't already. So you'll likely be seeing this. Alice, this lives in the Facebook group that you have access to also, by the way, so we could always tag you there. And oh, great comment. Facts tell, stories sell. Couldn't have said it better. So I want to keep moving on. Let's talk about how you now formalize your relationship with your private money lender. So we've presented our opportunity. We've made this offer. Like, if you want to get involved on this incredible project that we're doing on 123 Main Street, where we're going to take this dated cape, we're going to blow the roof off, we're going to go back, we're going to go up, we're going to triple the footprint, we're going to triple the size of this home. Ultimately, we're going to sell this for 4 times what we're buying it for. In turn, banking in a really fat spread and creating an incredible product, right? You've done that. You've cast that narrative. You've brought the visuals along. You've shown them what it's going to look like. You've got some renderings done of comparable projects, right? It doesn't have to be this exact project, but you've put the pieces together. Your deck, right, is compelling. The story sold. They're in. Okay, now you have to formalize that agreement. And that looks like these 3 documents: a promissory note, a deed, and a personal guarantee. These are documents, these are boilerplate documents that we use, that we had drafted by an attorney early on, that we now just repurpose. Like with each project, with each new lender, we just repurpose these boilerplate docs and switch the information. They'll often send these documents to their attorney just for a once over before they countersign, and that's it. And you're in business. And now you've got the private money lender tied to the project. You've raised the gap money that you need to now go to a private money lender and get the balance of the purchase and the construction. Unless you've been fortunate enough to raise all of it from a private money lender, right? Which, with the size, scale, the scope of these projects, that's not always possible. We got a question on Instagram yesterday: why don't we raise it all private? Why do we raise gap money? Why do we raise that with private? And then why do we go to a hard money lender for the balance of the purchase and the construction? Well, because in our market, especially, it could be north of $1 million to do a deal. And you're going to be hard pressed to find 1 or 2 lenders that are going to lend that amount of money privately, right? If you are fortunate enough to have some really wealthy folks in your circle, a rich uncle, something like that, then it's possible and you can do it. But expect that you're going to need to raise the gap money from a private money lender, and then go and get the balance of the purchase and all of the construction from a hard money lender. That's the structure we teach. That's the structure we've been implementing in our business for many years. And now we're going to jump to communication. And before I do, I'll pause again. Any questions on presenting the opportunity, what it looks like, what best practices are for it? Drop those in the chat as I load up the communication piece, because this is my personal favorite part of the entire blueprint. And it's where I spend an inordinate amount of time doing something that I haven't heard a single person in the business do. Right. So you ought to be seeing it. Again, I'm just doing the split screen so you all can follow along. Think about the structure of what private money management, what a process for private money management looks like. You're seeing it outlined, the narrative, the verbal, the story, and then you're seeing it visually in this PDF, right? Like, that's a system, guys. Like, that's what a system looks like. It's this blueprint, this private money management system. It's not a fractured mess like most processes and systems, right? I'm using air quotes, are in business. It's this person does it this way and this person does their part that way, and there's really no communication, no congruency. Like, that's not what this is. If you come away from this with anything, know that there's a system and it has 3 parts, and you execute on them in order, in succession. And again, that's why you see it, you see the narrative, you see it crafted here verbally, and then you see it here visually to really drive it home. Oh, a good bunch of questions. Okay, let me just quickly jump into these before we get to communication. Do you usually have a minimum investment? Yes, we do. Ours is 50K. Frankly, it should be 100K. On smaller projects, we will take 50K increments. Early on, we were willing to take 15 and 25. And if you're early on in your investment journey, take 15, take 25, right? But what we found is that it's a lot more trouble to manage a bunch of investors with 15K in a deal than it is to manage 1 or 2 investors with 200K in a deal. But again, to be fair, early on, you take what you can get. And so that may be 15K chunks, 20K chunks, fine. For us, we found that like no less than 50 makes sense. And on bigger projects, no less than 100 makes sense. The mortgage deed is filed at closing, or is it held by the title company or attorney in escrow? So that depends. That is different in different scenarios. You may be in a position where your hard money lender doesn't allow any other recorded lien positions. They won't allow that. If you did do that, it may trigger a lender to call a loan due. So you want to make sure you're being transparent with your hard money lender and your private money lender. What we've found is that a lot of times our private money lenders are okay being in second position if the hard money lender allows. If not, they're also okay with the deed being held in their attorney's at their attorney's office, right? Not formally recorded, but held. So that's a very nuanced question and like a very nuanced answer because it does depend. Alice, 50K minimum investment. Yep, that's exactly right. If, like I said, if you guys are new to the game and you're getting commitments from 15 or 20 from friends and family, take it, right? That's how you get started. What does communication cadence look like? I'm going to jump right into that. Perfect question to bridge us to the next section. Igor, are private money lenders in second lien position? More often than not, they are. That's the idea. And whoever, if you have multiple, just one more piece to tie back to the previous question. If you have more than one private money lender on a deal, what will likely happen is who's ever got more money with you will get the senior lien position. And then the others, I wouldn't put 25K lenders in third, fourth, and fifth lien position. I would just make the personal guarantee and let them know that like, hey, we're not going to record all this. We're here to execute on this project and just trust and believe that we got this under control and that the first lien position is with the hard money lender because that's what they dictate. They dictate the terms. They have the most money in the deal. And then maybe there's a second lien position for that one private money lender that came in with 200K or 250K, something like that. But again, there's no hard and fast rule on this. Like that's the beauty of private, right? You get to dictate. You and your lenders work together to do what you need to do to make sure they're comfortable. And so I want to make sure I leave time to get through this communication piece. So let me jump back in and then we'll field questions on all three sections at the end. And so this, like I said, this is my favorite piece because it affords me the opportunity to touch my lenders with frequency, consistency, and with a very unique style, right? So not everybody's comfortable doing front-facing video updates on their sites. We are, like, I particularly like doing that. Frankly, I'm here with you guys, right? Like, I don't have an aversion to front-facing camera. So I'll do that for my lenders. And they often respond with like, this is incredible. These updates are awesome. Keep it coming. They love the idea of getting visibility into a project without actually having to be there. And every first of the month, we make sure if it's the first, if it's the fifth, if it's the third, right? You decide. What's important is that you commit to a cadence and that you regularly do whatever it is that you're going to choose to do. If it's a front-facing video on the job site, providing them with an update, then do that and do that month in and month out on the first of the month, on the third of the month, whatever you agree to do, make sure you're consistently doing that and getting that over to them. If it's an email, in the past, you can see different versions of this here below, right? Me doing updates in the field via video, me doing updates in the office via video, and then me crafting an email update. So excuse me, you'll choose whatever medium most resonates with you, and then that's what you'll do. And then just be very consistent with the frequency and the format. I think it's important that once you commit to doing it a certain way, you do it that way or better, right? I think that the ultimate way is to do these updates via video. But if you start doing them via video, continue to do them via video, right? And if you feel like there isn't much to say, that's not an excuse to not do the update, right? Tell them, hey, progress has been slow on site. Here's what we did get done. We were anticipating this, this, and this done, but the weather held us back, or we had some challenges with town inspections, right? These are the kinds of things that folks don't mind hearing, so long as they're hearing them. What they don't like is finding out at month 8 that you've made no progress on a project and that you're highly unlikely to get them paid back in month 12 and that you need an extension. Like, nobody wants to be blindsided. Think about yourselves and like things that are happening in your day-to-day lives. And anytime you're caught off guard, how do you feel? Imagine your lenders in the same position. And so you want to avoid that. The best way to help avoid that is to be consistent with your communications, get the videos out, get the emails out, whatever you decide to do, do it. And again, it's up to you what medium you're most comfortable with and what cadence you choose, right? Consistency, cadence, and the medium. And so I don't want to beat that one to death. I know I just soapboxed hard on that, but it's a differentiator for us. And for those in our program that are doing it, that have adopted this method, they rave about it. It's paying huge dividends. It's getting folks to commit to redeploy with us and our students long before the project's even done, right? Like, when they receive consistent updates 3, 4, 5 months in a row on these projects, they feel so bought into that project, but also so bought into your vision, your mission, the things you're striving to accomplish. And we've got lenders that love to just skim the interest off the top and redeploy the capital. Like, that's very common in our world. We find that a lot of our lenders are like, sure, just send me a check for the interest, redeploy the capital, redeploy the principal. And so I hope that is helpful and really drives the point home for you guys. A document repository. This is where we get, again, I'm talking about the things that are differentiators for us, right? These are things that we've seen work for us and for our students that not anyone else in the space seems to be doing. That's why I'm showing them to you guys, hoping that you'll extract from this the things that you can do. And so for those that are really engaged, like if they buy into our Learn and Earn program and they really want to get a better understanding of how we do what we do beyond a video, beyond just a visual or an update, we offer them access to our online document repository. We manage it. We keep it clean, of course. We don't want a private money lender or anyone on your team, for that matter, jumping in there and dragging and dropping files and deleting files and renaming files, right? So we make it view-only access. And what's typically dropped in there are weekly P&L updates, right? Like, that's also something we give folks visibility into. We're not hiding anything. We're executing on this project, on this process, the way we envision doing so, based on the scope of work we created, based on the loan we got, right? And of course, sometimes there's deviation. We anticipated that siding would be 20,000. It was 22,000. It was 24,000, right? Like, those deltas are going to be visible there. They're going to see that when they look at the P&L. And most times it's just them knowing that you're tracking it. That's enough, right? Like, they're not there to nickel and dime and nitpick. That's not what most lenders are looking to do. They're just looking to know that you know, right? Like, they want to know that you're certain, that you're confident, that you've got it under control. They didn't get into the business of lending passively to suddenly jump in and do the deal, right? Like, that's not the business that they're in as lenders. Us as operators, as sponsors, as investors, it's different, right? So we offer them access to our online document repository where they can see P&Ls, they can see bids from vendors as we're fielding the bids, and we're tracking all those inbound bids. We're tracking payments, right? Payables, how we're paying against those bids to our tradesmen, to our GC, to our subcontractors. We give them visibility into that. As deep as they want to go, we're willing to let them go. And I'm encouraging you, if and only if your stuff is clean, make that offer, share that with your lenders. If your systems aren't buttoned up, do not do this, right? Like, that would do the opposite. That would have the opposite result and impact. We're looking to have folks really align with what we're doing. And if they get visibility into the back end, into your admin side, and they see that you're bouncing checks and that your payables are 30 or 45 days past due, that's not going to help your cause. So first and foremost is get this dialed in for you operationally in your business. And then if you feel like you've got it dialed in enough, then offer visibility into it to your private money lenders. And then finally, we talk about site visits and what that looks like for folks to come out and see what it is that we're doing in the field. This is powerful if it can be done. And if your investors are local, which I suspect for most of you, a majority of your lenders are going to be local. There will always be that relative or that coworker that lives out of state that's going to lend to you. A majority of folks like to lend where they live. And so if you're doing projects there, there's times where it makes sense to show them visually in real time, right? The updates are great, but also inviting them to the site. We like to do it before we start doing any demo, before we start doing anything at all, so they could see the before. And then we like doing it at around roughs, like the house is clean for rough inspections. We've got a pre-construction open house happening. That's the perfect time to invite them out to the project. And then ultimately, we like to invite them out at the end. We like to have them come out and see the finished product right around like CO, punch list, final inspection time. But I won't belabor that too much more because I know that doesn't apply to everyone right now with where you are in your businesses. But hopefully this visual was helpful, and I'll just open it up to questions. I'll open up the blueprint so you guys can quickly see the screenshot. And again, our intention is to make this available to you guys. So let me jump out of the screen share so I could see the chat, and then just drop a comment if you're looking for this if this PDF is of interest, you haven't quite seen it yet, or you don't have access to it, which a lot of you do via the Fix and Flip Foundation group. Just comment PML and we'll figure out how to get it over to you. It's a great reference tool. Giorgio, good question here. So the PML gets the annual return on their investment only, or do they also get a share of the profit? So they're a lender, not a partner. I am careful to make that distinction. They're not getting equity shares. They're getting a debt position. And so they're going to get 8, 10, whatever percent we agree to on their money. They are not getting a share of equity. That's a different thing. That's a JV. If you guys will remember, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a live training on the art of the JV with one of our lenders who does JVs. Right. So it's not that a lender can't be a JV partner. It's just that in this structure that we're talking on today, it's not designed that way. Let me jump out of this screen share. Any other questions coming in, drop them in the chat. Evan, if anything's over on Facebook, kick it over here. And we've got a minute or two left. I want to make sure I get everybody's questions answered. Excuse me, I'm parched. That's what happens when you get excited and you talk about communicating with private lenders. Rashad, I want to get started implementing this process. Where would you recommend I start? So this blueprint and the outline that you saw me talking from and working from are exactly where to start, right? First and foremost, it's creating a list of folks that you want to reach out to. So let me quickly tell you practically what it looked like for me early on. So I had, over the course of nearly a decade working in corporate finance, built a network of roughly 2,000 folks. I had bounced around for 10 years working at 3 or 4 different bullshit corporate finance jobs. And in doing so, was able to build a Rolodex of 2,000 or so folks. They all lived on a bunch of different email servers that I no longer had access to, but they also lived on LinkedIn. And so, excuse me. And so I was able to extract all those emails from LinkedIn. And that was where I started. I went outbound using that email list, reconnecting with old coworkers, talking to them about how, like, here's my new thing. Here's my reinvention. Here's me as an entrepreneur, specifically a real estate fix and flip guy. And of course, that's exciting, right? Like that gets us back in the mix. Now we're having conversations. Hey, what have you been up to? Here's what I'm up to. And ultimately, when I lock up the first deal, that's where I took it. And that's where those monies came from. And that's where a lot of those monies that we use for deals now still come from. It's from those coworkers. They are there because they want to back you, right? They want to, in a sense, work like vicariously through you as you're executing on these projects. They're there alongside you. Think of it that way. And so that's where I would go to start, is go to your sphere, go to your existing network, go outbound, tell them what you're up to. And then in the meantime, either be preparing like a draft of a presentation or an investment summary, put together a deck of the type of deal you're going to do. Or if you've got a live deal in the pipeline, model it and start putting that in front of them and start that conversation, start having those conversations. How do you usually do the terms for lenders? Any negotiating or just a firm offer? So the terms are the way we describe them with that tiered structure, right? Like up to 100,000, 8%, 100 to 250, 10%, 250 and up, 12%. And then there have been times where lenders have come in with 400,000, right? A big enough number that puts them in a position to negotiate. And they say, okay, on this 400, I want a point and 12% ballooned, right? Or I want a true 10%, even though you're going to be out of this project in 6 months. Right. The savvier investor that's writing the bigger check will sometimes dictate terms. And I don't want to say dictate, but they'll have some ideas of how they'd like to be compensated for their money. And so I would say just in those times, there is flexibility. But when someone's coming in and they're writing a 100K check, we've got a process for that. So we kind of just put them through that process, and they're happy, right? They're happy that they're getting 10% on 100K that would otherwise be sitting in a savings account at under 4, right? Like we're only hearing from Chase and Apple, right? Apple's their new account at 4.15% or whatever these numbers are. That's only because of the situation with the banks now. That's short-lived. Don't expect that those rates will be around for very long. And even still, we're making a better offer, right? Like at 8%, 10%, we're offering twice what they are. So I'll wrap there. We're a minute over, but I wanted to introduce everybody to the private money management system. Those that have been around for a while, some of this will have been familiar, but again, it's important. Executing to this blueprint has been critical to our success. It's the reason we're able to do as many deals as we can do. We're always able to fund our projects. We don't have to turn away deals. That's a terrible position to be in, right? Like, and so again, get the pipeline filled, figure out how to rate, figure out how to find deals, and then at the same time be having these conversations. So when the opportunities do present themselves, you're ready, because you won't have time to get ready. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks everybody for showing up. For those that spent the 40 minutes with us, look forward to seeing you again next week. We do these trainings live in the group every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and excited to see you guys here again next week. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your week.